Welcome. Recall that the four factors of production are land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. To produce goods and services, you will need these factors. The type of business you want to carry out may determine the size of factors of production you will need, but all businesses require these factors. And in this lesson, we will be looking at the demand and supply for one factor, labor. What exactly is the demand for labor? Let us explain. Demand for labor is defined as the total number of workers that employers are willing and ready to hire or employ at a specific time and at a given wage rate. We call the demand for labor a derived demand because labor is not required for its own sake or as a standalone, but for what it can be used to produce. While the supply of labor is defined as the total number of working age people offered for employment at a particular time at a given wage rate. In other words, the supply of labor can be referred to as the services of labor available in the market. Now, the demand and supply of labor are known as two sides of the same coin and hence have the same factors that affect them. Since the demand and supply for labor is derived, many factors affect its demand and supply. The first of these is the wage rate or price of labor. The demand and supply for labor are affected by the wages or compensation that an employer is willing and able to offer to labor for their services. If labor agrees to take a low wage rate, the demand for labor will be high. That is to say, more employers will want to hire staff since the costs are lower and in effect, fewer people will be willing to work for low wages, so the supply will be low. While if prevalent wages rates are high, the demand for labor will be low since the cost of hiring staff will be higher. Next, where there is a large market, there will be high demand and supply for labor. This is because the larger the size of the market, the more the production that takes place in it. More production will require more staff, so employers will look to hire more workers to work and hence a higher demand for labor and with that, a higher supply. And in turn, the smaller the market size, the lower demand for labor. The demand for goods and services in a country can stimulate an increase in the demand and supply for labor, just like the size of the market affects the demand and supply for labor. Because the number of goods and services produced determines the size of the market. An increase in production will lead to an increase in the number of workers that employers will need to work, causing an increase in the demand for labor and vice versa. The efficiency of labor affects the demand and supply of labor. If labor efficiency is high, there would be a high demand and supply for labor. Employers engage and hire more workers who are good at their jobs and offer more productivity to the organization than workers who do not. If the labor force is inefficient, employers will hire fewer workers and the demand for labor will be low. The last factor we will look at is the state of employment. Suppose an economy has reached total employment capacity and there are no more jobs available. In that case, there will be little or no need for new workers and the demand and supply of labor will be low. But if it is at a state of under or unemployment, there will be need for more workers, which is a high demand for labor and also a high supply. Alright friend, we will be concluding our lesson on the demand and supply of labor. Join me in the next lesson as we study wages. Goodbye for now.